Good to go.
Good morning, everyone. This is Mike Bevilacqua, the Vice President of the Merrimack Valley Chamber of Commerce. We have another great webinar today. We have two very special guests. We just celebrated Memorial Day, honor those who are no longer here. Thank those who are continuing to serve, the men and women today in the armed forces. So thank you to everyone who has served in the past and who continues to serve today. We appreciate it. You're the reason we're able to do what we're able to do. And today we have a very special webinar involving that. So whether you're here live or you're watching at home later, just thank a veteran if you see one, because we couldn't do these things without them. I want to start off by just thanking our sponsor, Newburyport Bank. They have been very generous to sponsor this important webinar. They are very supportive of the community always whenever we ask. So I want to thank Matt Martin and Josh as well, who are here today from Newburyport Bank. And I believe they're going to say a few words to get us started before we kick off the program. So welcome.
Hey everybody, when we were given the opportunity to sponsor this, it was really a no-brainer. Veterans are just it's a population that wherever we can help, lend a hand and help them get back to society, after their military life. Anything that we can do to help them, we try to really put a hand out there, however that help is needed. So when Mike asked if we could sponsor the event, it was truly a no-brainer. And if there are any veterans on this call that do need anything going through this time, please don't hesitate to reach out. We're truly here to lend a hand to our communities and help out however we can. So thank you, guys.
Thank you again. We appreciate it. With that being said, I just want to mention that the Merrimack Valley Chamber has a number of webinars coming up. You can find them on our website, merrimackvalleychamber.com. They have free member-added benefit to register for, and all you do is go to webinars. Before we get started, I just want to introduce the president of the Merrimack Valley Chamber as well, Joe Bevilacqua.
Hello, everyone. I just want to say welcome and thank you again for being a part of our Merrimack Valley Chamber membership. These are very important webinar subjects. I want to say thank you to our sponsor, thank you to our speakers, thank you to Rhiannon and Michael, and thank you to all of you for being members of the Chamber. We want to be your one-stop, trusted resource for timely, relevant, and necessary information. And I think this is a very, very important subject of how we help our veterans enter the private sector, help them with their business. And I know you're going to have some great information from our two speakers. So have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. And as I mentioned, you can find out all information about the Chamber at merrimackvalleychamber.com and email us at office@merrimackvalleychamber.com as well. So that being said, I would like to kick off the program. We have two great speakers. Both speakers are veterans, so thank you both for your service. It's much appreciated. They also have successful businesses right here in the Merrimack Valley, and they're both associated with the Chamber, as I'll mention in a second as well how they are. The first speaker of the day will be Salvatore DeFranco. He's the co-owner of Battlegrounds Coffee Company. He's also a veteran, and he is the coordinator of the Veterans Program. And then the second speaker today is Bill Kelly, who works with the Caliber Home Loans. He's a veteran, and he is also an ambassador for the Chamber, Merrimack Valley's Chamber. So we want to thank them both, and we'll kick it off with Salvatore DeFranco. Oh, and one thing I want to mention also is Cal Williams, who is on the board of directors for the Merrimack Valley Chamber. He's at home right now. He unfortunately could not participate today, but we want to send our well wishes to Cal, and look forward to seeing him soon as well. So with that being said, I want to kick it off with our Sal DeFranco of Battleground Coffee Company. Sal, welcome.
Always a pleasure to really do anything with the Chamber. You guys are doing such great things, especially when it comes to the veteran community. It's always, again, my privilege to help out as much as I can. So there's some interesting stats involving the veteran community and the small business community. More veterans own small businesses than any other demographic in the United States. I think the reason that is because veterans are so resilient. And as we all know, running a small business, owning a small business is incredibly challenging. And that resilience and that no-quit attitude is really important in operating a successful operation. Never has that fact been more apparent than during this time, this unprecedented challenge that we're facing with the coronavirus pandemic. So I think right now, as we're all trying to survive and really, to be honest, we're learning how to operate a more lean business, right? Because we're being forced into that. I think that the veteran community is still an incredibly valuable well of talent that we can draw from. Because the reality is, at the beginning of this pandemic, if you had 20 employees, given the new regulations, given the fact that being on unemployment in some situations for some of our smaller businesses can be more, unfortunately, more beneficial for some of those employees, we're going to have a harder time finding high quality candidates. And that's why I think we need to turn to the veteran community, because I think you're going to find that those individuals aren't going to be looking to use the unemployment system like maybe some. And so I think that by targeting the veteran community going forward, this is a great opportunity to staff your company, to bring on more veterans than you may have had going into this. So the way I look at this is an incredible opportunity. You might be coming out of it with less employees, but I think you have the chance to come out of it with a higher quality level of employees. And there's no better place to look for that than the veteran community for the reasons that I had said. I can't really hear you, Mike.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm back. When you opened up Battlegrounds Coffee Company with your wife, Dana, I mean, you brought a lot of your skills from the military into your business. How did you do that? You hired some veterans also. What was the different skill set you saw when you did that?
Right. So being a veteran, and I think the other veterans that are watching this or my fellow speaker can attest it, you speak I'd say you speak a different language, and you may understand each other at a different level. Now, that's not to say that if you're a civilian business owner or a manager, that you cannot communicate with these veterans, but the veteran to veteran connection is strong. Listen, I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know. So the more veterans you can bring on, you can develop that sense of community. And one thing I've talked about in the past is developing that sense of ownership. And that's another thing that veterans are really good at, right? They're really good at grabbing onto the business and considering it their own and treating it like their own and making decisions as if they were the owners. Because in the military, that's how you act, right? You don't pass the buck. You don't expect someone else to do your job. You do it. That's one thing I always tell my wife, is that, if you're not doing something, it's because you expect someone else to do it for you. And that's something I learned in the SEAL teams that you never do. You never leave a job undone. Because if you do, you're saying, I'm just expecting someone else to do that. And again, that's something that, listen, they're going to be rotten apples or, bad apples in every group. I'm not saying every veteran is perfect, right? There's no perfect, 100% perfect group out there. But veterans are, in my opinion, maybe a biased opinion, are as close as you're going to get. Because they all share that strength of commonality. They've all gone through a similar set of trainings. And because of that, they all share this common bond. And I think that helps any business because you're all fighting for the same thing, right? You're all mission driven. And I think that's invaluable. You can teach anybody any skill. I can teach you how to code a computer. I can teach you how to fix a car, make a coffee, operate a CNC machine. I can get you trained up on sales. But those soft skills that veterans have, right? That dedication, that sense of ownership, that respect of the chain of command, which is huge for me. Those are things that you just get to expect when you hire a veteran, or you work with a veteran as a vendor, perhaps. And those soft skills that I was talking about, especially respecting the chain of command in today's day and age, I think is so important that it's just something that can't be overlooked. That sense of self-respect, that sense of respecting your superiors, respecting the organization you work for. These are things that are drilled into you during the most basic military training. And so these are just some of the many reasons that I love hiring veterans, and I love working with veterans.
And Sal, as you know, through the coordinating the Chamber's Veterans program with the Veterans Affairs Committee, we always ask members and businesses in the area that if they have a job opening, let us know. We'll connect you with the veterans community. And every time we do, we always have satisfied members and satisfied businesses because they get someone who shows up on time and ready to work. So thank you for help with all that.
Right. Another thing I can say about the veteran community is during your military training, you are exposed to a lot of different training techniques, right? So there are classroom situations where you're sitting in front of a whiteboard or a projector for months at a time, learning a skill. There are times when you're out in the field learning from a subject matter expert, right? Kind of an on-the-job training. There are times when civilians come in and run course, and it's a combination of both. There are times when you're sent to a local university to take a course there. When I was in the SEAL teams, I went to Merrimack College. I took the EMT course there. I know I went to some language schools at UCSD. So when you're getting these veterans, they're not pigeonholed to one style of instruction. They've been exposed to numerous methods of instruction. And these are things you're not going to find with that recent college graduate, right? Or perhaps, any number of different applicants. But you can expect that with a veteran. And again, these are just these little things that a lot of people don't think about. You think of veteran, you think, oh, they're dedicated, they're loyal, they're going to show up on time, they're going to wear the right thing. And yes, for the most part, you're absolutely right. But it's these smaller details that add up to this really impressive package.
No, for sure, I agree, Sal. And that's, like I said, why it's been working out for a lot of the members. So if you're a business watching from home right now, contact us, MerrimackValleyChamber.com, about how you can hire a veteran. We'll put you in contact with the people. So Sal, I want to thank you again. We normally have these programs at one of your locations at Battlegrounds Coffee Company. As of this week, the last week of May right now, the physical locations are closed, but you still have online business going, right?
Right. Luckily, when we started Battlegrounds, we decided to kind of post troops on both fronts. We have an online business where we can ship bagged coffee to anywhere in the world. And we also have our brick and mortar locations to serve the local community. And intertwined between them, we run our social media, which alternates or at the same time kind of represents both entities. And so obviously with this viral pandemic, we've had to shift fire a little bit and focus more on the online front. It's been exciting to do that. We've learned a little bit more about resource allocation. We're happy with the results. If it wasn't for the online side of the business, I don't know if we would have the ability to bounce back as strongly as we will. But I think that speaks to, again, that, in the military world, you always have contingency plans. When you're mission planning, right, you always have contingency plans. If you're starting at this base and you have a target in this house, you don't plan one route to get to that house, because you may be going on that house and you might get intel that there are roadside bombs, or that there is an insurgency held up in this house, and it's not a smart idea to roll by that house. So you have to plan if that happens. Maybe you take this road instead of that road. And if something happens there, you have your third contingency, and you take this road. Or if it's not safe to take roads, you take a helicopter. But you plan for these things before they happen. So you're as best prepared as you can possibly be before you have to initiate any of these contingencies. If you're on a road and all of a sudden you get hit and you don't have any other plans, you shit out of luck. But if you have plans and everybody's aware of those plans, you can do a seamless transition, and it's much less dangerous for the team. And so we had these contingencies. There's brick and mortar. If something ever happens there, we have online.
And you had a great transition, as we saw, from brick and mortar to online, and we can't wait for you to go back to brick and mortar. I love starting my mornings at Battlegrounds Coffee. So thank you for joining us again. Just tell everyone what your website is in case they want to go check out your products and order some coffee.
Right. So you can go to Battle, BATTLE, coffee, COFFEE.com. Battlecoffee.com.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule for being one of our speakers today. We appreciate everything you do in terms of the veterans community. So thank you very much, Sal. Our second speaker of the day is Bill Kelly. He's with Caliber Home Loans. I met Bill I met him a while back, but I reconnected with him earlier this year, probably the very beginning of the year. And the first thing he said was, "And how can the chamber help me? It's how can I help you?" I talked to him about this program today. He said, "How can I help you?" And Bill, from the short time I met him, it's not about him. It's about how he can help others, and it's about working together. So we appreciate you being here, Bill. And I'll let you get started. So thank you for joining us.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. And my comments are really directed to two groups: either someone in the military currently who is transitioning out, I'll say within the next year or so, or for a veteran who is out. One of the things that Sal talked about was having a good plan, and part of having a good plan is kind of knowing what your resources and benefits are. So the VA has a fantastic number of benefits for veterans of every era, whether you're National Guard, Reserve, active duty, retired, any of those categories. There are resources that are available through the VA. Now, I don't work for the VA. I just do this on my own. What I found in talking to people was they didn't know what their benefits were. They didn't know how to access them, or the information was half right or half wrong. So I'm going to cover a couple, the ones that I call the big four, and that is VA medical, VA disability, VA home loan, and the post 9/11 GI Bill. Just real quickly, I'm going to go through them, and also a little bit how they're interconnected in some cases. So let's start off with VA medical. When you're in service, you go to sick call when you're sick, or you have a problem. They take care of you. You go to medical, you go to the clinic. They start writing stuff down. They put it in your medical record, and hopefully you were smart enough to grab a copy of that while you're still in. So that's my number one takeaway. For people that are still in, get a copy of your medical record. You're going to need it. Get a copy of your DD-214. Make sure you have that handy, because in order to access almost anything in the VA, you're going to have to produce that document. Yes, they can look you up and find you themselves, but if you walk in the door with that piece of paper, that makes the system, work just that much more smoothly. So VA medical. VA medical is for the veteran. It's for the individual. There is a graduated level depending on your income. Veterans get very bent out of shape when they learn that it's based on need. It's a tiered system. There's not enough capacity to cover every veteran all the time, everywhere in the country. So what they do is they put you into priority groups depending on what your individual situation is. So there's like 9 of them. I don't want to go into all of them, but just be aware that yes, it is a graduated system. So your documentation, your story, be able to articulate, how you fit into any one of the categories. From there, the VA medical piece, it's kind of like going to your standard HMO. There's some rules you got to follow. You got to meet your appointments, all of that. So VA medical is for the individual. A sub piece of that, if you're a retiree, is something called TRICARE. TRICARE is for you and the family. So like I have TRICARE. I'm signed up in VA medical and I just sit there. I've never used it, but I'm in the system. And I did that kind of when I first got out, even knowing that I was going to use TRICARE. So VA medical's for the veteran. TRICARE is for the veteran and their family and dependents. So why are dependents important? Well, in order for them to be eligible for TRICARE, they have to be in something called DEERS. DEERS is a database where your personal information is kept. You can update it when you're out. So as a veteran, you can go to a military base, find your way to the admin office, and someone can update your information in DEERS, but it's so much easier if you do it while you're still in. Okay, so the plan for when you get out. VA medical, you go, you sign up at a facility. You can even do it online now, and that's, again, for the veteran. VA disability is completely separate. It has nothing to do, air quotes, nothing to do with VA medical. Now, the stuff that is in VA medical, which attaches back to your service life, can be pulled into VA disability, but they're really 2 separate paths. VA disability is a rating from the VA that says you came in, you were in good shape. We had you do a bunch of different things and you got hurt, you got injured, you had other issues. Now we, the federal government, we, the Veterans Administration, are going to acknowledge that these things happen. And the way we acknowledge it is we give you a rating and then we compensate you based on that rating. So VA disability is for the VA disability is for the veteran. It's an iterative process. You have to reach out to them. They're not going to find you. You need your DD-214, you need your medical record, and you go through the process of getting a rating. And as with any of these things, I can help you offline if you have questions. Next big one, VA home loan. The reason why I mentioned VA home loans, aside, yes, I am a mortgage guy, but it's a fantastic earned benefit. The big takeaway on VA home loans, no PMI, up to 100% financing, and what we call a little bit more flexible qualification requirements. They're willing, if you have some credit bumps and bruises in your credit report and your credit history, the VA is willing to kind of listen. And as long as you have resolved these things, they don't really hold it against you. They're a little more forgiving than some of the other programs. But they fund up to 100% of the value of the home. Most of the time, you have to come in with some kind of down payment on a conventional loan. You don't need 20% anymore, but you still need, up to 20, but you could do 5, you can do 3, you can do any number in between, depending on your situation. So the VA home loan, there's no down payment required, 100% of the value of the home, but that has to get paid for somehow. So there is something called the VA home loan funding fee, which is a percentage of the loan amount, but it gets wrapped into the loan, so you don't have to come up with it out of pocket. But the takeaway on this is it's actually connected to your VA disability, in that if you have a VA disability rating of just 10%, that's like one item, 10%, the VA home loan funding fee is waived. You're exempt from paying it. That saves a veteran thousands of dollars on their loan. So, that's an example of things that are actually connected. The next thing is the post 9/11 GI Bill. A couple of important things to note. If you were in and out before the January of 2013, then the VA post 9/11 GI Bill has what we call a sunset clause, which means those benefits expire. And I want to say off the top of my head, I think it's 15 years. You have 15 years from your release of service to use those benefits. So I got out in 2011. That's before 2013. So my benefits have a sunset clause, and if I waited too long to do it, I wouldn't be able to use them. The other good thing about the post 9/11 GI Bill is that it's transferable, but you have to do that while you're in the service, and you have to meet the obligation requirements. If you're going to transfer your benefits to your wife or your spouse or your kids, you have to do that while you're in. You literally cannot transfer it while you're out. So that's a key takeaway. Then the Forever GI Bill, which is the newer version, is a lot of the same benefits as the post 9/11 GI Bill, but they've taken away the sunset clause. So if you get out after 2013, then you no longer have that 15-year window. It literally is forever. The other stuff that I talked about, the transfer of benefits, all that still applies. You got to do that while you're in. So those are kind of like the big four. There are many others. If you have an older veteran in your life who's living in a nursing home, they might be eligible for a VA pension, which is different than VA disability. Unfortunately, we deal with this a lot too, is burial rights and the burial benefit, the details of which are on the VA website. And again, you're going to need the veteran's DD-214, right? That's an important piece of paper that every veteran needs to know where it is and be able to lay their hands on it. If you can't find it or don't have it or lost it, you can go to the National Archives. You can put a request in online, and it takes a little while, but they will send you the document. Couple of final takeaways. Your use of a benefit has no impact on the veteran sitting next to you and their use of a benefit. You're not taking anything away from them by using your benefits, which you earned. You earned this benefit. It's not a give me. It's not a freebie. It's not a program. It is an earned benefit that you earned through your service. And I hear veterans all the time say that they don't deserve it because I came back in one piece. All right, well, good for you. So you don't need VA disability. That's fantastic. For those of us that are on VA disability, I'd be happy to trade the ability to walk without pain for the money. But I don't live in that life. I deal with the issues I deal with, and every veteran deals with the issues they deal with all the time for the rest of their life. That's why they're being compensated. So even though you might be, quote, in one piece, if you have an issue that you're dealing with, you should get it rated, and the VA will tell you whether or not you meet the requirements. And again, it has no impact on the veteran sitting next to you who also needs those services. The government's not going to run out of money for these programs. So that's my pitch. And I would say just if you have any questions, a good way to get a hold of me is through the something called Veterans Advice Hub. It's a YouTube channel that I run where I post these videos and answer topical questions about anything that's going on. Just as a side comment, if you have a question on VA home loans, whether to purchase or refi, am I eligible? How does it work? What's this funding fee thing? Any of those types of questions, I can help you. My website is Bill, B-I-L-L, Kelly, K-E-L-L-Y, BillKellyVALoans.com. All one big word, BillKellyVALoans.com. And that will take you to my Caliber webpage. And from there, you can reach me and get a hold of me. So thank you, Michael. I'm about done. Questions?
Yeah, that was great. Thank you. And what I was thinking when you were saying that, when you gave a lot of great information, like you said, that those benefits are not given; they're earned. And I think a lot of veterans we talk to in the business community, they don't want to take advantage. They don't want to, take what other people can't get. But we tell them all the time, this is something that you earned. And I think a lot of time giving them the information like you just did today makes it a lot easier to take advantage of it. So thank you very much for giving all that. And real quick, just tell everyone home what you're doing with Caliber Home Loans now. You're back from the military. You've been back for a while now. What are you doing with Caliber Home Loans, and how can people contact you there as well?
Sure. So I'm a retired Coast Guard officer. I spent a couple of years teaching at Endicott College, and I was actually doing some presentations on the Post 9/11 GI Bill, and someone in the audience essentially said, hey, I think you'd be really good at helping veterans understand and access their home loans. If you ever wanted to change, give me a call. And I decided I needed a little bit of a change, a little more flexibility. So I went into the mortgage business, and then I found myself talking with the chief of military lending for Caliber Home Loans. The VA has a conference every year. It's called the VA Lenders Conference. I go to that every year to stay up and current what's going on. And, just one of those things. He's a Navy guy. I'm a Coast Guard guy. We were talking, telling sea stories, and he said, how come you're not working for us? And Caliber Home Loans is the #3 VA lender in the country. They have their own military lending division, totally dedicated to that, servicing those clients. They have a division for what's called a certificate of eligibility, where if you have a problem, they will engage with the archives, with the National Archive, to help get you the documentation you need. Not too many lenders will go to that next level of detail. So Caliber Home Loans, I work out of Danvers, Mass. I'm licensed in Mass, New Hampshire, Maine, and Florida, if you know anybody PCSing in and out. So that's kind of how I got into the mortgage business. And the things you and I were talking about before the seminar that are the things that I like about this business, those face-to-faces. You go sit, have a cup of coffee with somebody. I don't talk to them just about their mortgage. I ask them, hey, what was your service like? What'd you do? How you feeling? Have you talked to anybody at the VA? Hey, it sounds like you might have a disability. I can help you with that process. It's like the whole thing.
Connection.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. You can get a hold of me. My email address is simply, or the website, billkellyvaloans.com, or bill.kelly@caliberhomeloans.com. Caliber Home Loans, one big word.
And Bill, you do a lot on social media as well. Tell everyone at home how they can connect with you on social media also.
Yeah, sure. Well, obviously you can hit me up on Facebook. If you Google Veterans Advice Hub, my YouTube channel should come up. I don't have the address kind of handy. It's not easy to say. I mean,
that's fine.
you know what I mean. So anyway, Veterans Advice Hub. I've got over 50 videos on there about all kinds of different topics. You want to know about service dogs? I've got a video on that. You want to know how to do a VA disability claim? I've got a video on that. Your grandfather's in a nursing home. Is he eligible for a VA pension? I have a video on that. My point is, I'm always looking for new topics, and more importantly, I'm also looking to showcase resources. So if you have an organization that helps veterans, I'd be happy to connect with you, come and talk to you, and then I'll do a little video on it and talk about what you're doing to showcase that as a resource for veterans.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much. Ryan,
Sure.
I'll ask you, do we have any questions on the call right now? Bill and Sal, I believe they both welcome questions after the program also for anyone watching at home. But Ryan, is there any questions right now?
No questions at the moment. If you guys want to open up your chat feature, when you hover over your screen, it's the third button on the right. We can leave it open for a minute to see if there's any questions.
And while we wait, I just want to say thank you both to Sal and to Bill. We appreciate you both joining us. We appreciate what you've done for the country and what you continue to do to this day for the veterans in the Merrimack Valley and beyond. So thank you very much. We appreciate it. I also want to thank Newburyport Bank for sponsoring today's webinar also, and thank you all for joining us. Any questions at all? All right, I'll ask Sal and Bill. Is there anything you'd like to add before we close?
Yes, you can ask on behalf of a veteran. You don't have to be the veteran yourself. If you're concerned about your grandfather or your father or your neighbor, it's okay to ask questions, on their behalf.
That's a great point. A lot of people don't think that, so thank you. Well, again, I'd like to thank Sal DeFranco, Battlegrounds Coffee Company, and Bill Kelly of Caliber Home Loans. Like I said, they do a tremendous job right here in the Merrimack Valley for the veterans community. If you have questions for them, they're here to help, and the Chamber is here to help also. So again, thank you for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you for the next webinar, and thank you to all the veterans as we celebrate Memorial Day this week also. Thank you. Have a good day.